I still don't think we are.
Test, test.
We can hear you. Can the people in the audience hear?
Can you hear me? Great. Okay. Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me back. We discussed last, we had.
Andrew, I hate to stop you for just a minute. Michael, we've got some.
We got an echo.
It's probably from the PA system. Because I don't think that's on. Let me check.
See if that clears up.
Apologize, Andrew. I just wanted to make sure you had our full attention and we weren't having
No,
an echo.
We're sorry.
I think we sound good. Test, test, echo 1, echo 2, no echo 3.
No echo. I think we're good. Okay, go ahead.
Well, thanks again for giving me the opportunity to come before you. I know when I came here last time for a regular meeting, there was some hesitancy about moving forward on a long-term basis in an outsourced capacity. And then we entertained the idea of, well, maybe the consultant can come on a shorter term basis and for a 30-day period do more of an assessment to determine exactly what the needs are of the city. And that's the revised proposal I've sent to you all. I can just speak to the fact that, you know, my brief conversations with Debbie before this meeting, the city and its finance operations is in a great deal of flux. We've got two systems two disparate systems that don't integrate, that are handling different functions, one utility billing, cash receipt, business tax side, and then we've got another system that's the primary general ledger and performing payroll and purchasing and AP. So there's a lot of double entry, there's a lot of inefficiency. The city's got 27 bank accounts, there's a lot of manual reconciliation activity. So a lot of what we would want to come in and do is help fix things and get things streamlined and more highly functioning, efficient process going forward. That's not an overnight process. And then simultaneously really assess the needs of the finance department going forward. Some small towns can get away with one finance director that's a do-it-all, that does all the transaction processing, that handles all the strategic decision-making, that essentially owns the entire finance function and needs no help. Then you have larger cities that might have smaller mid-sized cities that might have a team of 3 or 4, a finance director that provides that leadership and oversight, and then 1 to 2 to 3 clerks, accountants, technicians, whatever it may be that can help handle all the duties and obligations and responsibilities of the department. I don't know what that looks like here for the city of Crescent City. I know from my very brief visit with Debbie, there's a lot of things going on. So it's unrealistic to say we could come in tomorrow and take care of Debbie's duties on a part-time basis. Probably wouldn't work just based on what I just described to you as the current environment within finance. But what I can aspire to do, if you give us the opportunity, is take that 30-day period to really dig down, do an assessment, talk to your existing team, talk to your development team at Edmonds, see where we can get things moving forward technologically so we can get better efficiency within our systems that we're using, avoid those double entry issues, and then look at business processes and then look at our people and ultimately come to a determination to say, hey, we think we can do this as a finance director to provide that oversight, but you also might need an FTE here as well. That's more of a bookkeeper, clerk level that could be here 5 days a week at 30, 35,000, 40,000 a year, whatever that may be, to handle some of the day-to-day stuff. Or maybe we can handle all of it, and some of this can be done remotely, and here's how that would work. I don't have the answers to that today, but that's what I would aspire to achieve in that next 30-day or so period, to look at that, work closely with Debbie and Sheila, talk to others both in the organization and others outside, like folks at Edmonds, to see where we can be 1 month, 6 months, 1 year from now, what that can look like, both from a system level, structural level, and personnel level. So that's kind of what my proposal would offer, and happy to address any questions you might have to that.
Andrew,
Go ahead, no, Commissioner.
you have here that, additional travel per diem and reimbursement expenses will apply to this agreement. It's $150 a day. If you were to come here for a month, is that $150 a day for that month?
No, we would do some off-site work as well. So days that we would be here on site, because we're not local, my consultant team would incur some travel costs. But then also we have homework that we bring back with us back to our home office and be able to do work remotely. So no, it wouldn't be on site for 30 days.
What do you project? I know it's just a guess, but what do you project? How many days would you need to be here?
I think we try to come overnight, and so have one or two consultants here, probably 2 days a week. Spending maybe half a full day one day, and then the rest of the day the next day, and then do some offsite work as well.
And we're paying for your hotel?
Well, it would be the lesser of a fixed amount of actual. So I wanted to put a cap on it so you didn't feel like there was an unknown in terms of what the total amount of travel costs.
And that would be once a month, you're thinking?
No,
Well, the agreement's for a month.
Well, this agreement's only for a 30-day period, then we'll come back at the end and then give you more of a long-term solution, whether that involves us or not.
All right, gotcha. I'm thinking past this 30 days, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So it looked like to me that we were trying to find some temporary help, right, for a small period of time until we get a finance director. Am I right or wrong?
I think he wants to be our finance director, am I correct?
His company want to do all the finance transactions.
I mean, ideally, in the other municipalities we've been to, and you have our letters of recommendation, we've been able to come in, serve as finance director on an outsourced basis. Yes, we haven't been there physically every day, but we've had an internal team at the city that works for us, that we provide that strategic leadership and direction, handle other matters, approvals, projects that come out, fee studies, preparation for the audit, budget prep, trim compliance, things that we would handle at the finance director level. And then we've got one or more individuals at those cities below us that handle some of the day-to-day transaction processing. And as what we would aspire to do in that 30-day period is give you a very detailed outline of.
Can you explain that, Jay?
it was
I
open.
apologize,
I think he's
Andrew, I'm
reading
so
it.
sorry.
No
Our
problem.
lawyer just walked
He's
up.
just reading the thing.
I'm so sorry.
No worries at all. So then,
Couldn't get his attention.
so then we would,
Basically, what you're saying, I mean, this is the way I'm hearing it. You're gonna come in for 30 days. It seems like you've already assessed some of the problems that we have.
right,
And some of those problems is we have a lot of double entry. Some is manual and some is on computer or computer type activity and some is manual, correct?
Yep.
And so what your idea is to come up with some fix for that so that it's more efficient, you know, just one entry, which is what I would expect from your company, by the way. But the thing for the payment for service, we started at $6,500 for a month here, a fixed monthly amount. And for this 30-day period, you still have the $6,500 for the services, but then you're adding $150 a day if you spend some time here and spend the night and all that. So for $6,500 for the services of just us analyzing, right, what we need and how we were gonna fix that, plus $150 a day for the amount of time that you're gonna spend here, mileage, lodging, meals, I just think that it could be quite expensive. I mean, if you spend 3 days here, you know, we're up to a few dollars there, $450 on top of the $6,500 that you're gonna cover, you know, for the whole month or 30 days. I wouldn't mind a job like that, by the way. I think that's a pretty good deal. But, so that's something to consider. I mean, I think, but I like the idea that you would come in all honesty, I like the thought process. That you would come in and streamline our finances, basically. And, because I think that that's something that Crescent City needs, and it needs to move forward, you know, into the future. I know that we do have some new software here that we still haven't quite developed and put into the whole overall
We
city.
haven't conquered it yet.
Yeah, we haven't conquered it yet, and so it would be kind of nice to get all that streamlined and hopefully better. Now, the last time we talked also, though, you also talked about, you had what I call software, okay, proprietary software. So that means that that's software that only your company uses, correct?
No, it'd be available to the city as well.
Well, the city would use it. But let's say if all of a sudden you left and we had another company that would have to come in behind you for whatever reason, or another person that comes in, you have proprietary software.
Right.
You own it.
Correct.
So how much would that cost us to buy once, if you left? Do you see what I'm saying?
I think to clarify that is their software is, because they're used to coming in and working with different systems, correct?
Correct.
So their proprietary software would pull from our system. If they went into a municipality that didn't have a system, you would
You have
use.
to be careful with proprietary software, because once everything's into their software, they can own it. And in order for us to get it back, it might cost us a few bucks. So I don't like that idea of proprietary software. It's one thing to pull it in, or it's one thing to use the software that we've already purchased and you manipulate it that way and use that. But to all of a sudden pull it into proprietary, it's not, sometimes it's not a good way to do business.
I'm happy to address that, and it's really based on needs. So our software is available to augment what already exists in your technology platform, and maybe it's not necessary. So we have a budgeting solution that has configurations. We can put in a citywide pay rate at 3%, and you can change it to 1%, and you can see by fund what the impact is. A lot of different things you can do with it. May not need it, may decide we can just use spreadsheets, or we can use a budget module that's in Edmonds, and that's perfectly sufficient. So it's there for your use. There's different uses for it, from task management to capital asset inventory to electronic timesheets instead of manual. But again, you might have, you know, what Edmonds offers satisfies all your needs. If you were to utilize my software in conjunction with what you're doing in Edmonds, and then later no longer need my services, then of course that you own the underlying data, so that you still use the product, and we would just work out what the fee would be for the continued subscription fee for the continued use. It's minor.
Mayor, can I clarify something?
Sure.
Okay, it's my understanding, well, first of all, as to what we're doing, we're going to have two separate meetings today. Right now, we're in the workshop,
Right.
and we're going to, part of the workshop is the financial services discussion, in which we're going to hear from Andrew. And I'm assuming also we talked about hearing from our city finance director and getting information about what we can afford. And then also we're going to hear, as part of the workshop, we're going to talk about the city manager discussion, and we're not going to actually make any decisions until we get to
The special meeting.
the special
That's
meeting.
why we call it a special meeting after the workshop.
So this is really just informational. And then as far as a consultant agreement goes, it's my understanding that just the 30-day consultant agreement is on the table today, that's what we asked Andrew to bring us.
Right.
So I'm not clear, I want to clarify what Commissioner Burton was asking about. As I read the first page, the consultant agreement seems to say that your primary purpose is just to do an evaluation and make a long-term plan for us for what we should do.
Correct.
Down at the bottom, there's a little bullet that says perform other related services, but it's my understanding that you're not actually going to do Debbie's job during that 30-day period. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so while you're doing the assessment and the proposal, as opposed to us hiring you for a longer gig, would your proprietary software need to be used during that 30-day assessment?
No, I mean, we could look at it and say, this looks like something we would want to use in the long term, or we decide, no, this isn't really necessary. But that's the extent. We wouldn't implement anything in the 30-day period. It'd be more,
Okay.
like you said, an assessment nature.
So in other words, that would be for a different stage of the game.
Correct.
It's important, but it's not, doesn't really apply to this particular 30-day period.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I don't know much about accounting software. Okay, so it doesn't really apply to this. All right.
Okay. I want to ask, Debbie, how much did we pay for Edmund's software?
60,000.
60,000. What kind of support did they provide for that $60,000?
We had to pay an annual fee also for those updates and all that, but
How much is that annual fee?
I think it was $1,300 or $1,800, something like that. a year.
Annually? And that just provides for updates?
Yeah, and it's these clouds where we save it into the clouds.
Okay.
They back up our information every day.
So that was just for the software and no support. Is that correct? I mean, did they come in and help you as far as transferring information over, or did we just pay for the software?
No, they came in and they did the data transfer. We're still working out the bugs on the data transfer and the payroll. We've almost got it completed. And they're supposed to start maybe end of March, maybe to pull the information from utility billing.
Okay.
We started payroll. We went live in payroll in, I think it was June of last year.
Okay. How long have we had the software system?
Since June of.
Since June?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Well,
that's when-
I think we come in like May and started and then, yeah. It's taken that long to get everything.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I think just to come in and do an evaluation, I'm not sure that, this is a lot of money for us just to come in and do an evaluation and really not have any completion or assistance with Debbie. Because right now, I believe in talking to Debbie, and Debbie, you might want to address this, where are you right now? Where are you with this admin system? And what do you see that we need in order to bring everything up to speed?
We've been in constant contact with Edmonds about the fact that we're paying for 2 modules. We're paying the IMS also. And they're supposedly working on it as hard as they can to get our new modules for utility billing up and going. And so, I mean, we're just stuck right now. IMS is billing us only quarterly instead of yearly like they used to. They're billing us quarterly for the module we're still using.
Okay. Okay. I just, and getting you caught up to where you need to be, I guess is what I'm looking for. That's what I was hoping that we would get out of this month, is to be able to get her caught up to where she needs to be.
This is my duties that I do, and I gave them this report. This is my daily, monthly, yearly, annually, my duties that I do personally. And then I highlighted it in green what things I thought that they may be doing. The rest of it, from what I understand, is gonna have to be another person. Sheila will take over some of my responsibilities, but not a whole lot because she don't have time to do it. So we're gonna have to hire a person to do all the day-to-day things and accounts payable, it looks like.
Okay. I guess I was just hoping that for us to spend that type of money more than an analysis, because it looks to me like if we've spent this kind of money and then we also have a contract with Edmunds, that we're pretty much have to make Edmunds, we have to make this work. And we need to bring it up to speed, and it needs to be operational, fully operational. And that's what I was hoping that we would get after 30 days. And so.
Well, if I retort, that we want to help move the needle forward, inundated with just keeping your head above water and getting through the day-to-day tasks of daily activities, weekly, monthly. So there's really no time for project management, for these big ticket items that, hey, we need to move the utilities system into Edmunds, and that takes a lot of time and attention that she doesn't have. So that's a lot of what we do is say, what are the things that need to get done to make this operation run more efficient? Okay, here are the items. And then certainly in that period, we can start helping assume those duties to move things forward. After 30 days, we're going to show you where we're at, what we've recommended, and maybe progress to date of here's some of the things that we've recommended with management's concurrence. We've already moved forward on these, and here's where we stand. And then on a go-forward basis, we think you need to hire us as finance director, as well as hire a clerk level person or some other option, or we just need to be in here for 90 more days and then find a clerk at $35,000 and that person can run with everything. I don't know that. My team needs to spend the time to discern that, to give you a better depiction of what long-term success looks like for the finance department of the city. But certainly we're not just going to come in, with our notepad and say, oh, 27 bank accounts, got to make that more efficient, and then put a list together and walk out the door. When we want to spend the time with Debbie, learn exactly what she's doing, where we can cut down some of the administrative burdens, and to the extent that we can in that period, start moving the needle forward, like I said, to get some things in. And then come back to you all with our long-term strategy. If you just wanted, poor Debbie's retiring, so if you just want to try to find a replacement for Debbie and someone just come and learn her role, I don't think we're going to see progress because, like I said,
They're going to be taking on everything that she's currently bogged down with.
Exactly.
And that's why that was my hopes, is that we were going to do something to alleviate that for Debbie. And I just don't see that happening with this amount of money that we're spending right here.
Mayor.
Yes.
Sorry.
Commissioner.
Okay, well, you might clear it up better than me, but here goes. What I see happening here is, I think Andrew has done exactly what we asked him to do. We asked him to give us a proposal to come in for a month and tell us what we needed. I think that is what we asked him. We didn't ask him to come and, I don't know, help Debbie or be a substitute. We said, tell us what we need. And so that's what he did. The big picture, as I see what we have to do today and in the next 30 days, is to figure out how we are going to configure those finance director services in the future. Because the one thing we know is Michael has so far not been successful in filling that position in the way it's advertised. And he said that there's a shortage of people. Mr. Laughlin has made a proposal that I think some of us felt was pretty pricey. We have a proposal. I mean, I'm saying that's why you're here today, because we felt like that was a big expense for us. I'm not saying that your services aren't worth it, but as far as our budget goes, so we had an advertisement that wasn't filled. We have a consultant proposal that the city manager brought to us. And then the other thing we talked about was, you know, how, and I would want to hear from Debbie on this. How could we possibly fill her position in a different way, and certainly temporarily? She is, you know, and it seems to me that if we are evaluating things, that I don't think his price is outrageous, because obviously we're not going to be able to continue exactly as we are. We've got to figure out what to do. So we've heard from him. I would like to hear from Debbie Peacock, and as well, something that we talked about last time, and I think we really need to know from Debbie Peacock or from the city manager, a combination, what money do we have available to us for the rest of the fiscal year? To me, that's a big $64 question, because, you know, can we afford a consultant for the rest of the fiscal year? Do we have to cut our coat to fit our cloth? And figure out, you know, how we, because then we also have to pay for an interim city manager, a new city manager. I have a question mark. I don't know who's doing planning and zoning or what we've got to pay for that service. And then we have to pay for the wrap up of the police department. So to me, we need to discuss options. We need to hear from the finance director what money we have available for what we got to do. So to me, in a way, I think I'm ready to hear from Debbie and to answer some of those other questions. And then, you know, decisions are supposed to be made at the special meeting. But to me, I think we could use a professional consultation. And the big question mark for me is, what do we do after that?
I agree. I'm not questioning the fact that we need an evaluation, and we do know that from an efficiency standpoint, we need an efficiency expert to come in and help Debbie. But I think that we also have to be prudent with how we're spending our money right now.
Absolutely.
And $6,500 plus $150 a day travel can add up and can be significant. And so that's just where I'm going with that. And so Debbie, if you want to.
After I figured what Michael's payout will be when he leaves in April, I looked over the budget and I come up with, I think it's $33,690 left out of his portion of the budget to spend for the rest of the year. So that's, if we go outside to get anybody, this company, if we get another city manager, whatever, we're going to have to go into our reserves to offset that.
Okay, where are our reserves right now?
We have over $1 million in reserves for just general fund.
Okay. Mayor, I have a reserve question.
Sure.
Debbie, do you know the figure at the end of the last fiscal year, what was the actual number that remained to go into reserve?
I moved $100,000 into reserve from general fund, and I moved $100,000 into a special account for a fire truck that is in the reserves.
But that's really fire truck money.
Well, we're designating it, trying to save before a fire truck, we have to buy one. So $200,000 was left out of the general fund last year that I moved to reserves.
Right, but kind of undesignated was really more like 100,000.
Correct.
Because I think we all know we need, when we need a fire truck, we need a fire truck.
Right.
I'm not for spending fire truck money. So at the end of this year, are you saying that we would not expect to have reserve funds or we just don't know till the end of the year?
We don't know, because we don't know how much ad valorem taxes we're going to get. Right now, we've done pretty well so far for this year.
Right.
And I'll pass out a budget if you'd like, and to show you what we actually have had come in.
Okay.
But whatever, anything that we do above this budget is gonna have to go out and bring it in from reserves. Whether it's a pay raise for the employees or hiring, another not a finance director, but hiring another company to do the finance, or someone to take over the city manager's position that makes more money.
Right.
It's not in the budget.
Okay, and also we don't have figures for the wrap up of the police department. Do we have salary funds in the police department that can assist with the wrap up?
Yes, what we'll have to do is, after we pay all the bills, we'll have to see how much is left in all of the funds, and then we'll have to do a line item to add the county in, and then we'll have to transfer all of the funds into that budget line item, so that we can start paying out of that. If you can't pay out of the, funds where they're at now, we'll have to set up a line item.
But we
So we
don't,
won't know what we got until we get through paying everybody out and pay all the bills that we've accrued so far.
those accrued so far, and as well, because we haven't discussed severance for the
Correct.
police department. And then we don't have actual figures for what we're gonna have to pay for the part-time person for wind-up that was discussed last night, or the expert for the pension dissolution, correct?
Correct. Right now, we've got, $220-something thousand balance left in the payroll part of the police department. 52,000 of that is just the police chief that we were talking about, using part of that for the legal fees that we're gonna have to have.
So.
What was that number again, Deb?
We have $52,500 in just the police chief's budget line left, and $177,700 left in the regular employees. Pam is still gonna have to come out of that. All of her payout that we have so far is gonna have to come out of that.
Michael, you were gonna say something a moment ago. didn't you?
I was gonna touch on the duties and responsibilities, the questions you had about their service. I know all of what Debbie has to do,
Right.
and this is a list, it's a comprehensive thing that she does, and she has a certain work ethic that helps get that done. Going forward, you need somebody, we needed to get somebody that had the experience, that was where I contacted this company. You can hit the job description all you want to say something, having somebody come in, somebody made a comment to me and said, well, I know somebody who's been doing taxes for 2 years, we'll get them in here. That person, they can't get up to speed real fast. We would need somebody who has the credentials that can come in and understand, first of all, translate all these things, and second of all, get up to speed real fast on how we can do this without having a huge learning curve, without having Debbie retire at the end of this year. So that's where their services come in. Like I said, there is no question of the amount of stuff that she does do on a daily basis.
Debbie, and I'm looking at 73,000 annually. Is that right, with 60,000 and 13,000?
Yes.
We pay 60,000 each year.
No.
One
It
time,
was
that was the one
60,000
time.
one time, and then the 13,000 is just for fees and
Is yearly.
cloud and.
Right. Would Andrews take the place of Edmonds?
No.
No. we'd have
Well,
them-
some of his modules, he said that could, but we wouldn't want that, I don't think, unless you got rid of Edmonds completely.
Right.
Because we have an accounts payable module already, we bought that, we bought the whole finance module, we bought that.
See, that's what I'm talking about, proprietary software. I mean, if you can come in and use the software that we just paid for, and, I think that needs to be discussed.
Andrew, when your associate came, Mike came and looked at what we're doing, he's familiar with government accounting, working with Edmonds. He could look at it, correct, Mike?
Yeah, I mean,
When he sat down with Debbie and was able to understand when she was talking about it, about where things are and how things work, he was able to understand it. We sat there for about an hour and talked about it. So it's not something that there's a great learning curve to understand how our software works without having to go to theirs at all.
And I understand that too.
What we do now with, our auditors, I upload the information to them. And then they put it into their system and they organize it the way they want to see it. But I do have to upload it to the auditors, and there'll probably be something like that with he'll tie in and get our information. But these modules we have can do all kinds of reporting, we just don't know how to do them yet.
And that's something that's where they come in.
That's something where, yes,
Right.
he would come in and massage that and make that work right. And if it works, I mean, if he can come in and actually evaluate what we need, I think he's right when he says maybe 3 months down the road, all we might need, once you get the software going and people, is somebody to put the information in the software, and then it gets downloaded. I mean, then it's not gonna cost, I hope, $6,500 every month. Hopefully, we can have somebody to download all that at a reasonable price. But if it's gonna cost us $6,500 a month, plus, like he says, another, I don't know how many dollars for a clerk to do that, then it's quite expensive.
I got 118,000 a year.
Yeah,
With
pretty
the
easy.
clerk at 40,000, and you're 78,000, if we're doing 6,500 a month, that's not the 150 a day, whatever. Andrew, we love you, we just don't have enough
We
money.
don't have enough money for you.
And it's,
I mean, I could argue it's somewhat of a wash. I mean, you have two people right now in finance, right? So Sheila and Debbie.
Right,
And so if the long-term solution is have a Clarion as your outsourced finance director with some on-site and off-site presence, the strategic leadership direction, project management, oversight, review, approvals, everything that goes, that we'll put in the finance director bucket, handle that at whatever price point that may be. What we want to do is make it as budget neutral to you as possible. So then, when Debbie retires, her salary and benefits come off.
right, so we're at 78,000 then.
I mean, it's 6,500 is what, 78 a year?
Yes,
I mean, that's somewhat equivalent to what we're paying Debbie in salary and benefits. And then you've got Sheila as well, so if you have a full-time person like a Sheila here, we can get to a position where we can have one person full-time here, and then our firm handling the high-level finance director services at whatever price point. I'm not gonna commit to any long-term, because you all said come back, do an assessment, and see what that can look like. Then we can talk pricing at that point, if we feel that this could be a good fit for both the Clarion and the city to have that kind of model. And obviously, again, I want to make it budget neutral to you all, so that the cost that you are paying currently is not going to be far exceeded with having us come in and having also someone here full time.
So the price,
go ahead, no, Commissioner Banks.
so the price that, you are quoting us today that's the bottom line price, correct?
Again, this was what was directed to me to come back and
Right.
do for you all
Yeah, I understand that.
for just 1 month.
Yeah.
And let's see where things are at, have a detailed outline of what the finance director will be doing, and then what the on-site, we call it the on-site presence, if that's 1 person, 2 person, 5 person, hopefully it's just 1, will be doing, and can we manage all that, and here's what that cost looks like for an on-site employee, salary and benefits, as you currently been incurring, and then if you engage us long-term, here's what our pricing looks like, and then here's what you're currently paying, and here's the net difference, and hopefully that net difference is minimal or 0.
Ms. Peacock, when our auditors come once a year and audit you, I can't find the book. I was trying to read the, the letter at the back of the audit book that kind of tell us inefficiency. Can you, well, I know that kind of getting it back. Would we weigh out, weigh in, where we was?
We addressed most of the, things that they gave us. And a lot of it was because we didn't have the software to do it, but we do now. Some of it was that they suggested an interim audit for us from from an accounting company to come in and help me balance the books and make sure that we're right where we started, And so we haven't done that yet. We haven't, the books are fairly balanced, but we have a lot of due froms out there from previous years before we even got this system here. I mean, their old system, and we need to get, balance it. So that's where the auditors mainly, their complaints were about.
Okay.
We addressed everything else.
What about the insurance provisions? I was reading down here that the contractor in this case would be them. They would actually maintain that. How much do we pay for the general liability insurance and the, let me see here, the professional liability insurance? If we get audited or if we, I'm not a finance person really, but do we have those types of insurance also that we pay?
We have ERISA, and then we have fiduciary insurance we have to have. I'm not sure what they are right now, but we have to have fiduciary insurance not only for the city, but I have to also have it because of the police and fire, because I'm in charge of their accounts too.
Okay, I was just curious as to, is that a lot of money, or, is that, like, I don't
Just
know.
the police and fire is, let me think, $950 and $850.
That's a year?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I was just curious. I'm trying to get that 78,000. I'm trying to wrap my hands around everything that would include. I know we're looking at a contract for only 1 month, 30 days right now to assess what we need. But I just want to make sure that, we would spend the money wisely, because I do think we do need some type of assessment to understand where we are so that we know where we have to go. But I also don't want to lose the sight of, how many dollars we've already spent to upgrade our software, bring things on board. And would like to hopefully be able to utilize all of that we've already spent, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Well, I think what it is we're not dismissing you at all, and we
No.
understand that we desperately are in need of some
Yes.
services right now. It's just we have to determine how much we're willing to pay for those services based on what we've already paid so far for software. That did we not do, did the city, did we have an assessment done when we bought that software?
Yes, we did an RFP.
We did an RFP for it, and then they did an RFP, put out for software, different software, and that was who came in.
Okay, but did we do an evaluation of our current system to see where our deficiencies were when we bought this software and what we truly needed?
Yes, we knew what the deficiency was in the IMS, and they hadn't been able to repair any of that. And that was one thing we did get wrote up in the audit every year, is because we have what's it called?
There is a calculation error in their software for the utility billing that they cannot fix. And that's caused some problems with us, and that's one of the things that gets brought up in the audit every year.
When it was so old.
Well, this one here we got in 2007 of the IMS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Today's world, that's old.
Have we spoken to Edmunds at all as far as them being able to come in and provide this same type of service? Do they do that, or are they just a software company?
Just the software.
Just a software company, okay. Okay. Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
For a minute, my understanding, when we got the software, as I understand it, is just one piece of the finance department puzzle. Another piece of the puzzle is the finance director and the personnel themselves, as well, and I think we all know, or we've been told certainly, Ms. Peacock came to us from the private sector. She has done an incredible job of learning on the job to become proficient in government accounting, but she has said that she is not expert in all those areas. And so the software was one piece of the puzzle. Ms. Peacock is doing the best she can with what she has. She has inherited an existing system, correct? I mean, as far as how y'all process everything and how many bank accounts and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
She came into an existing finance department with all these things that still need some evolution. The software Edmunds that we bought is just a system. It doesn't address how many bank accounts or how we process things necessarily. So the problem that we're in right now is how do we get beyond that? We have to replace Ms. Peacock. And it seems like this would be a good time, since we're still in the workshop mode, and we have, Debbie has given us some information about what money we have and what things are going to cost. But it would seem like a good time to hear from the senior advisors, because we have to get some idea of when we can get an interim city manager and what that is likely to cost. That's part of our immediate puzzle.
Yeah.
And if we get an interim city manager, they might be able to help us with what we're looking at in terms of finance. So it would be my hope, I don't know how much time Andrew's going to spend with us today, but at this point, I would like to hear from the senior advisors and talk a little bit about city manager and what we're going to do about that, because that's a dollar amount that we got to talk about. I mean, whenever one is obviously asked all their
I just
questions.
want to comment on the software. Remember, I want to make sure I'm clear. We're not a software company. So while we do have a technology solution that we bring with us in the event that the client wants to use it, we understand that the city has invested big money, $60,000 plus, in a new ERP. And so our primary goal is to maximize that use and get the most out of your investment. So that's what we look for to do. We work with a lot of different ERP systems. We work with a ton of municipalities, both in the past and currently, help them implement modules. I mean, that's what we do. I'll make one other point. I don't mean to, vacuum the corner or have this come across as threatening, but, the commission, city commission for the city to start expressed a lot of the same concerns. So they were adamant. The city posted a position for finance director. They got 0 applications. Then they decided, well, let's see what other competitions out there. So they put out an RFP for these finance director services, and our firm was the only one to respond. So I just say that because I'd love it for your sake if you had a wealth and an overabundance of options here, but you don't have many. And I understand the reluctance, and let's just kind of baby step this thing, and let's see what they can do in the next 30 days, and they'll come back to us with results and feedback and what a long-term solution could be. And if that's the direction we want to take, we're happy to do that. I personally think that $6,500 investment in doing that, especially at the critical juncture you're at with a departing finance director, coupled with a lot of we'll call it a technology scramble, where you've got 2 different disparate systems and a lot of different business processes. And you're not just evaluating software, we evaluate structure, systems, process. So structure, the people you have, the systems, what's the technology using in the process, how do you go about your day-to-day reconciliation, transaction processing routines, weekly, monthly. We look at all of that and come back and say, here's what we can streamline. And as a result, here's what your finance department could look like. You could bring someone that does 2 years of taxes off the street, hire this person at $35,000, we'll train them for 3 months, we'll walk away, and we think we can do it. Or we'll say, we think the person you have here, keep this person, have us in an outsourced role here, assisting this individual, handling these specific duties, and here's this cost, may or may not be $6,500, and here's what that looks like going forward. That's what I'm advocating for.
Let me ask you this, Andrew, and I think I was the one that posed this as far as what are we gonna get for 30 days worth of work? And you've laid that out for us very well. Thank you very much. Just in general, just basically with what you have, the time you spent with Debbie, what you see before you, what kind of a time frame do you truly think it's going to take for us to be where we need to be? For a new finance director to just step right in and be able to take over? I know that's putting you on the spot here, but I would just kind of, because I think we all need to think about, okay, $6,500 down the road, 30 days, we have an assessment, we know where we are.
Yeah.
But then we still have a ways to go.
Yeah, I don't think it's a multi-year process. Unfortunately, I don't think we can flip a switch and in a few weeks, all of a sudden magically everything's in Edmonds and we're no longer using your legacy system and we've cut down our bank accounts, we've streamlined X, Y, and Z. So that will take some time. I would envision kind of a phased approach where
Okay.
maybe we have a set end date for Debbie and we're helping facilitate that transition from potentially her to us.
Okay.
And then Sheila stays in the role, and maybe that is a month, 2 months, I can't tell you for sure.
So you think maybe in 90 days, I mean, because maybe it's something that we could talk to Ms. Peacock about in working with her, that she could, even if it was to help us, she's helped us out so much, that she could go more on a part-time basis.
Sure.
And
yeah, exactly, we phased the approach out, so it's just a smooth and successful transition. You don't want to botch this and just bring someone in
No.
and do these the next day, and this new person has no government experience, no medical experience, and doesn't know what to do. So that's what I would advocate for, is a smooth phased transition. And if we're the incumbent that comes in, great, we'll figure that out in that 30-day period. And ideally, that's what it could look like on a longer term basis. So there's no risk, no major risk or significant breaks in the action or missing institutional knowledge. And so what does that look like? A 2-month phase out, a 3-month, or 1 month and a half? Not uncertain until we really get in and sit down for more than 20 minutes.
okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. We're going to be taking this back up, possibly at our special meeting. I don't know if you want to, you're welcome, if you want to stick around for that. In case we have any questions, we would, but we are going to take up at this workshop. We can't make any decisions at this workshop, so it's more of an informational. But we are going to have the special meeting directly following this. In the meantime, we're going to need to hear from our senior advisors, because this is just one part of our puzzle right now that we're trying to put together. We have, and that's why also from a financial standpoint and trying to make sure that we're very prudent in what we do, because we're going to have quite a few expenditures just with people exiting, getting new people in, and
Turnover is
so
tough, no doubt.
it is. We're all faced with an awful lot right now. So, but I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to. I don't know how long this shouldn't take. If you want to stick around to a special meeting.
Yeah, the special meeting usually follows this. Sure, so if you have any questions, I can get your assessment.
Thank you.
I just have one more question.
Sure.
Are you willing to get rid of that $150 travel and food and all that? And just do $6,500 for the 30 days?
I mean, that, again, we wouldn't want to charge that on a long-term basis. So we want to have some kind of, if you were going to move forward with us in a long-term capacity, we want to make that a more fixed, make that a fixed fee amount.
I'm talking about for this 30 days, right? So what you're saying is,
well, again, I think you're going to take that to the special meeting, and if that's a sticking point that you can't,
Okay.
can't proceed without that, then let's talk about it.
Okay, good enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you want
Guidance actually on Crescent Street. I agree with Mr. Commissioner Burton that you can't go where you're going if you don't know where you are. So you have to have a starting point. And with a temporary 30-day contract, if it lays out what needs to be done, you think Mr. Thanks about Edmonds being a home builder. They'll build you a house. It can be a condo, a one-bedroom, an efficiency, or it can have many rooms, like accounts payable, accounts receivable, building, utility building. We bought all the rooms. We bought the house with all the rooms. The people are the data. That's the information put in those rooms. Edmonds is saying, you got a house?
you take care of the movers.
No, say you got a room here. We can put a ladder to get you into that second story bedroom if you want. They're not gonna put the ladder up in the first 30 days, but they're telling you, we can give you a way to get into that bedroom other than going up 2 flights of stairs. You got an adjoining bath, it's got 2 doors. We can tell you how to open those doors so you can both get to the bathroom. So they're just gonna show us how to do what we do better and suggest improvements. At the end of that 30 days with that list, you could still go to somebody else. You could still include that as part of the requirements, since our current job description isn't giving us what we want. That would insist, but I would think since the proprietary software, unless you actually have your own database, is there a database that's included with your software?
Yeah, we have a SQL database.
Okay, SQL, so it's not a proprietary database, but we would have to take that into consideration. If we're putting data in their database, we gotta get it back out.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your input. Okay, at this time, do we want to go ahead and, Michael, do you want to introduce?
Sure, so, the mayor is in contact with the Florida City County Managers Association, and they have a program of senior advisors who come and help in just this situation. I met with them today. There's 2 gentlemen here who will come and speak about how their program works as they go and help find interim and permanent city managers. I don't know who's going to talk first.
Should we come up there?
Yes, sir, absolutely, please.
Okay, George.
Come on, Jim. Right. My name is George Forbes, and this is Jim Hansen. Together, we have over 80 years of experience in city management, which I guess makes me feel old. I spent the last 24 years as city manager at Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Jim has experience. He spent 14 years as city manager of Atlantic Beach, Florida, and then Orange Park, Florida. So we're with what they call senior advisors for the Florida City County Management Association, as well as the International City Management Association. What's a senior advisor? Well, senior advisors are retired city managers who still want to give back to the profession. And some of the work we do is we assist city managers in transition. We assist city councils as needed, and we also perform searches for just small cities, city manager searches for small cities when needed. Jim and I have done the searches for Neptune Beach, Florida, most recently Bronson, Florida, Stark, Florida. We've assisted also with many other cities. So I guess I was actually invited here initially to talk to you about finding interim city managers, and that is one thing that we can assist you with if you desire. We've heard of a candidate, we've already got one, I think, extremely well-qualified candidate who is interested in serving as an interim. What we would do in this, for interim city manager search is primarily we would request, we would let the managers in transition know about the job and see if any of them would be interested in serving. One of the unique problems you have with interim city managers is that it's got to be someone who kind of lives in this area or can drive here in this area. So that's one big limiting factor. But again, I think that if the council wishes us to assist in finding an interim, we can. And again, we've already got one person who is eminently qualified, who you may or may not want to select for this position. But if you do decide you want us to assist you in finding one, we will go out and ask the managers in transition as a start to see how many of them might be interested in live within a proximity where they could actually assist here. So that's one thing we can do. That covers the interims. We also have a lot of things we can do. Should you decide, now, I've talked with the mayor and about Colin coming back and doing another search for you, and that the mayor's going to have discussions with him. She's going to decide that. But should you wish Mr. Hanson and I to do a city manager search for you, again, we're very qualified. We've done many of them. And I'm going to have Jim go through the process of what we would do in that.
Okay, let me start with an apology. I didn't realize your time schedule. I have to be out of here by 2:30. I've got a commitment to address a council in South Florida by Zoom at 5 o'clock tonight. I got to get back to my house and get it set up. So, and I live, George and I both live in Jacksonville, close to Jacksonville. The good news is we're free.
Almost free.
Almost free. The only cost that you would have in bringing us in is possibly for meals, or if you have a late night meeting that we have to stay to for some reason, you may have to pay for our hotel. But other than that, you know, we're not paid by anybody. We're doing this because we want to stay involved in the profession. We want to do some good for cities and counties across the state. We only do this for cities under 10,000 population and counties under 50,000. Because we don't want to compete with the executive search firms. So let me very quickly talk about what we can do. Like I said, once I'm done with that, I may have to leave, but George is eminently qualified to answer any questions. First, by the way, my 2 cents worth on relating to your past discussion, cities can be greatly benefited, particularly small ones, by good professional advice. Having been in this business 41 years, I was in Georgia long before I came to Florida. I could tell you many stories where with professional help, we were able to save cities tremendous amounts of money. Just like this, you've got a clerk that's working as hard as she can, trying to keep the books together. She doesn't have the time to do a lot of other things. My guess is there's probably a lot of low-hanging fruit that you could get by efficiencies and other savings. Selection of your city manager is probably the most important decision a city council can make. When you have a qualified professional that knows what they're doing, and they can do their job, and they've got the right skills for your community, and if they can do their job, the city council can do your job, the commission here can do your job, both of you can work together effectively, and you can almost make miracles happen. It takes that kind of relationship to bring to fruition your goals and aspirations for your city. But you need somebody who has the ability and knowledge to run your business for you. Every city has a different size, different needs, different aspirations. One city may have a financial crisis, the next may have a major employer that just left and need economic development. The next city may need roads and sewers repaired. The next city may just need qualified staff to be recruited and put together. So it's absolutely critical that you find the right fit for your manager with a combination of skills and abilities. Not just any manager can do a good job here, but you need to have the skills that you need. That starts the discussion of how we can work with you. We would be your senior advisors, your counselors, not your consultants. We can't do as thorough a job as a professional search firm can because we're just volunteer. If we want to keep working full time, we can get paid for it. But we'd rather help where we can. And for smaller cities, we find that to be very, very helpful. We offer assistance in a lot of areas of the search process. It requires some expense from your city, like advertising the job. You would pay that to the newsletters that publish it, and that sort of thing. And it would require some help from your staff. Let me explain what we do. We do it in association with international city management guidelines. We're assigned both by the International Association and by the State Association, as are there approximately 100 of us across the country. There's 8 of us in Florida. We're geographically spread out, so we don't have to travel too far. First, we assist your commission in determining the qualifications and compensation and position requirements for your city manager. We'd ask you to fill out a questionnaire, like we worked with you a couple of years ago, and before you brought in the executive search consultant, we had that position questionnaire pretty well put together. We've got a new group and different issues now, so I'd suggest you do that again. But basically, we need you to tell us what's most important for Crescent City, so that we can highlight that in the draft of the announcement for the job. And usually we do another document with it that describes the job for prospective candidates that would want to look at Crescent City and think, do I want to come there? I stress the decisions on the education and obviously experience and skills are something that has to come from you. We would put it together, but we would want you to approve it so we know you've got it right. Because ultimately, this is your decision, not ours. We do very strongly recommend you hire a professional with experience and education that knows how to get the job done. Hopefully, they'll be a member of the International Association as well as the Florida Association. One major piece of that is we have a code of ethics we have to go by. We can be drummed out of the organization if we don't follow it, and they're very strict about it. But as a public servant, you want city managers that have a very high code of ethics, and I can provide that to you. We also recommend they be a member of the City, County, and Association in the state because it provides a range of educational services, a lot of them free, and you get to meet all the other city and county managers across the state. And a lot of times it's very helpful to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, Joe, how did you handle this problem? You know, because it's no one can be good at everything. Once we've got the position announcement ready, then we'd help with the advertisements. We do not actively recruit people. We don't have the time to do that. We don't pick up the phone and say, hey, here's a job you want to apply for. But we can help you get the advertisement out and get it across nationally. There may be very good candidates both in Florida and across the country that you may want to look at. We don't actively recruit them. Once the applications are in, we can, and usually do, review them. That can be a lengthy process. Certainly it's fine for you to review them also. What we would do is give you a list of what we think the top candidates are. Usually elected bodies take that top list, and from that list, they're the ones that they interview. But certainly you're welcome to do it yourself. But like in Bronson, we had quite a number of candidates. We spent many, many hours, George and I independently combing through the resumes, then compared notes, and then brought our recommendations to the city council. Usually we'll give them in 3 tiers. The most qualified, the folks we'll call qualified in the middle, and then the people that you probably wouldn't want to consider, people that had no related experience, and that's usually the majority. Frankly, you really hopefully would get 4 or 5 or 6 really qualified candidates that you would want to interview. That would give you a good range for a city of this size. The city commission must select the candidates yourselves. We'll give you recommendations, but that's not our job to say who you should interview. That's got to be yours. Then it'll be up to the staff to schedule and coordinate the interviews. Say it's okay also on Monday, at our meeting on the 5th, and we'll schedule you, 1 hour apiece or something like that to kind of handle those arrangements. And we can give you assistance during the interview process in a number of ways. And would be required probably to pay the cost of travel and lodging for candidates coming from out of town to interview. That's normal. So that's an expense to you. It doesn't come to us, but that's an expense of the business. During the interview process or before the process, we would help you prepare questions. We would prepare a list of them for you so that you ask each candidate the same question, but that will highlight specific needs to Crescent City. For example, if economic development is one of your issues here, then we want to ask, what have you done? One of the questions would be, give us examples of what you've done in economic development. What employers have you helped bring to your communities in the past? And we want to specify and make sure we hit on those issues that are most important to you. Then obviously we can be here for the interview process. We can help tabulate your scores. That's a good way to start your discussion once you've interviewed all your candidates. It doesn't necessarily make your choice. And the choice of your manager has to be yours. We will not make a recommendation on any particular individual. That would be wrong because it's got to be your fit. It's not just on paper, but if you feel comfortable with that person, can that person do our job that we need to have done? And again, that's the most important decision that you will make. Your staff or who you would hire will do the background investigations. We don't have the time or money to do that. Now, that's a number of things. Usually the criminal record check and background, financial background will be done by a private company. We know a couple of private companies that do that, and we'd be glad to forward that information to you. Oftentimes, you have your staff to do the Google checks, and maybe even your social media. Obviously, you need to check somebody's Facebook page if they've got one to make sure they're not, espousing some crazy stuff out there. You don't want them to be embarrassment of finding that out after you've made a hiring or an offer to them. You need to know beforehand. Negotiation of contract terms, once you made a decision, is also up to the city. Usually, a city would authorize their mayor and their city attorney to negotiate that. We can provide a standard form contract for your attorney to use. You can add or subtract to that however you want. It just saves them a lot of time in putting it together. And that basically will get you, those are the services we will do for you, again, at no charge from us individually. Time frame for filling the position is probably around 6 months. We'd start by developing a position advertisement and starting with your questionnaire on what you're looking for. Then we'd ask you to approve it. That's 30 to 45 days normally to get that done. In terms of advertising the applications, getting them back in, it's usually about 60 days, maybe a little bit shorter. Reviewing the resumes and giving you a recommendation on who to interview, and then you making that decision. Usually can be done in 15 days. We can work pretty quickly. To schedule the interviews, get them in here, and have that interview usually takes about 30 days. As you can imagine, if you're telling John Doe that I want to interview you, and they're currently employed, they need to, clear their calendar and take a day of vacation to get down here to do that for 2 days. At that time, you want your staff to start doing the Google searches on background to get an idea of who you're dealing with. Then it's your decision about who you want to hire, doing the background checks, negotiating the terms of the agreement. Usually can take 15 days. And then to start the new manager, as you can imagine, they usually have to give notice to whoever their employer is. You wouldn't want to hire somebody who would just tell an employer, I'm leaving tomorrow. I mean, you want responsible people. Usually they have to give a 30-day notice. So add all that up, it's about 6 months.
I think we'll fast, depending on how fast the council can.
Yeah, if you work quickly, we can speed that up a little bit. But like George said, we can help with possibly bringing in an interim for you, or at least connecting you with them. But with that, I really need to get moving here.
Jim, thank you so much for.
Let me just summarize. I think we need 2 decisions today, possibly. It's up to you. One is, do you want us to assist with search for an interim? Again, we've already have at least one person that's extremely interested that thinks he could commute. So that's decision number 1. Do you want us to assist with that? And if you do, then I need to know where they should send the resumes. Who in the city is going to accept the resumes. The second decision is, do you want us to be your advisors on and set up the process for a new city manager search? Now you have 3 basic options there. One is to just do it yourself, one is to just do it yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
One option is just to do it yourself, forget about us, forget about a consulting firm. The second option is to deal with the consulting firm as you previously did with Calvin, or get him back in here at a reduced price. And the third option is to utilize the senior advisors, which would be Mr. Hanson and myself. If you do decide to go with the senior advisors, what we'd ask the council to do, when we talk about time frame, reduce it significantly. If the council, one is complete the needs assessment survey that we'd send you if you decide to use us. The faster you complete that, the more we can get going, because we use your needs assessment to do the job announcement. And by the way, the job announcement, we bring back for you to approve. Everything I'm gonna say, we would bring back to you for you to approve before we move forward. And then, once the job announcement's out, we're waiting for the applications to come in. We would write interview questions based on the needs assessment. And then you would review the interview questions, we would review those with you. And then, we'd also then, at that point, we write a process for you, a schedule of how the applicants come in and what they do when they get here. For instance, normally we like to have a tour of the city. Have the applicants come here a day ahead of time and get a tour of the city by your staff. And by interviewing your staff, they can also go through, what's positive or what are our needs. For instance, in the finance department, they can say, look, are these going okay? But we need an assessment. We've got these problems in the finance department, so we need the manager to assist us in these areas. So I want to tour the city for sure with the applicants by the staff, and for they to get to know them. And before the interview process, we'd also probably recommend potentially some sort of reception with the candidates for the council, the staff, and any members of the public to attend, so they get a chance to meet the candidates. And then you would have obviously your interview process, and from that you could make a decision, a selection that day, or you could wait and give it some time to think about the candidates before you make a final selection. So we'd set up the whole process for you with your permission every point along the way. And that's what we did. Again, Mr. Hanson, I've done this many times with many different cities, and we'd be more than happy to help if you decide that you want to go in that direction. So with that, do you have any questions of me?
I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of questions,
Okay.
several questions. Yes, Commissioner DeWitt.
I got quite a few. First of all, George, good to see you again. Wait, are you George or Jim?
That's
I'm
George.
George.
That's all right, okay, forgive, I thought I saw a funny look from
I've
somebody.
seen us both before, so.
I know. I thought I had the right name, but I thought I saw a funny look from somewhere, so I want to make sure I didn't make a mistake. As you know, a little over a year ago, you spoke to both Commissioner Banks, Commissioner West, and me on this exact process. We went through this somewhere between a year and 2 years ago. And actually, the mayor was at one point a candidate for the city manager position, and that didn't work out at the time. So 4 of the 5 of us are very familiar with what goes on. We have some very immediate needs. We only have 4 front office staff. The city manager is leaving, I believe April 10th is your last day, correct? The assistant, the front office assistant, is also leaving April 1st. Our finance director is hoping to retire. That leaves 1 clerk in the finance department. So we have a need for help with an interim city manager. And my questions there are, do you think that we can get an interim city manager in place in the time frame that we need? Because Mr. Esposito's last day is April 10th, and he has another job to go to.
I would say, based on what I've seen, again, I've got a resume from a person who's very interested, who I've personally spoken to, who's, I would say, greatly qualified, who lives in Apopka and is willing to commute. His only concern is that he might want to talk with the council about working like 3 or 4 days a week, so to lessen his commute. But he's very interested in doing this job, and if you decide you want us to look for them, I can immediately give you a copy of his resume, and then we check and see if others are interested.
Okay, and
You
then,
do that very quickly.
right, the next 2 more questions. What does one usually pay for an interim city manager? What is the usual price range? And I noticed in the materials that Lynn Tipton sent us, because I originally contacted Lynn, it said that the duration of an interim position, I think, is usually 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, about 90 days.
Well, it can be whatever duration that you and whoever you choose, is willing to live with.
Right.
As far as the pay, you're going to want to base your pay, basically on what's the fair pay for the city manager job. In a small community, that's always a problem. Even in our recruitment, what Jim and I will do is we'll do another salary survey, and see what the pay is generally for cities this size or this range in the state of Florida. That's always a problem, because as you know, the lower the pay scale, the less amount of candidates you're gonna get. Although I will say I feel like we were very successful in Bronson, which is a city about this size, that we just recently completed. But so bottom line is you'll have to negotiate with the interim how many months, they're willing to stay. Again, another problem with some interims, not all, is they're looking for another job themselves, so that if they get a job somewhere else, they're gonna obviously leave here. But again, I'm confident right at this moment, that, hopefully we'll have some people really interested in doing this job as an interim.
How soon do you believe that with this candidate that you've spoken to, and George and I have spoken at length about this as well, but how soon do you think this candidate could start?
The one I'm talking about, we'd have to ask him, but I think within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'd like him to work part-time with Mike so he kind of sees where things are and how to do a few things.
And again, I can't speak for the candidate, but I can get you the person's resume
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be.
today, tomorrow,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
that would be
Got a
good.
printed copy now, I can hand it to Mike and he could show it to you and you could move on from there.
Would this be a person that might be interested at making this a full-time opportunity?
This person would not, maybe somebody else would, but this person would not. At
Just
least that's what he has told me.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner DeVere.
So the person in a pop cut, you could get us their resume right away.
Yes.
Would you be forwarding other resumes in case we?
Oh, absolutely. We
Okay.
have to, but, first we're gonna have to buy and contact the MITs, managers in transition,
Sure.
to see who else might be interested. That's one of the things I want to get from Michael right away is for other candidates to come in, where do I tell them to send their resumes? Who in the city should accept them? Where do they go? You'll need to let me know that.
Right, because obviously, I mean, if it doesn't work out with the person in a pop
Yeah, this
cut,
person,
we
you
need
may
to.
decide, all I can say is this person is tremendously qualified, but whether you think this person's a good fit here or not, you're gonna have to talk to them and decide.
Okay, and I just have one other question for the
Sure.
commission. I mean, is all we're looking for right now an interim, or do we want them to move forward and look for someone permanent that might?
Well, I think this is gonna be a twofold process, because we definitely need an interim, because Michael, he's got someplace waiting on him, and Michael said, as soon as you get somebody up and running, they're willing for him to come on to the next job.
Okay.
And, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
and we need to take our time when we do this.
Yes.
This process for the one that we want to stay.
Yes,
We don't need to rush them, we need to take our time, so I think we definitely need an interim person to come in and be with them.
right, but we can move relatively promptly. Again, the first step is having the council to pretty quickly complete your surveys for us, so Jim and I can base, a lot of things are based on that. So the faster you get that done, the faster we can get started. I think the part that we need to be real careful on is the actual selection process. I think we can do a good job on that. But again, it all depends on somewhat depends on how much what the pay scale is, and then we'll see, we'll see what we find.
Mayor, I have another question
Yes.
about that. We are in in terms of staff, a more difficult position than we were the last time you were here.
I understand.
So the problem with using the services of the senior advisor is we have very limited staff to do the functions that you don't do, to receive resumes, do background checks.
Well, I would.
He said he has a firm that he also.
Your staff isn't gonna be able to do background checks fully. There's a company, we have,
No, I mean, even
reviewed
to
several times. It'll-
hire someone with a background check, because we're gonna have an interim city manager. We don't know who we're going to have in our administrative assistant position. Those are the two people that we have, other than utilities billing. We just don't have much staff here.
Sure.
So that is a great concern. But I'm assuming that whoever we're bringing in as interim manager at the moment could help us with some of that as well.
the mask is sort of blocking sometimes when being able to hear it.
Oh, okay. I said whoever we are hopefully going to bring in as interim city manager would be able to help us with the administrative part of looking for a new city manager.
They could. I think you have to be careful there though, but I think that what we're asking from the staff isn't really a whole lot. It's to, someone's gonna have to let's just say you want to bring 5 candidates in for interviews. Well, someone's got to, we'll give them times and stuff, but somebody's got to call them and, you know, and.
We have to coordinate, we need to coordinate it, so you need to
So
coordinate.
that's really all we're asking. We're sending in a resume. That's just, you get the resumes and you send a copy to the council members and send a copy to Jim and I. That's not a big deal. It's a click of the computer. So the amount of the staff is not large. Actually, the vast majority is done by Jim and I. But the key thing is too, in the way we do the process is Jim and I will come back and when we have the job announcement done, once you approve the job announcement before it goes out, when you have we'll get the interview questions done, we'll meet with you individually, once you approve those before we move on. So every step of the way we'll get your approval. I don't see any huge amount of time on your staff. But still, there'll be some time.
So I mean, whoever we have in the front office, it's gonna be the interim city manager and a very new administrative assistant who.
We understand that, and
If
we
they
also
don't-
have all of us too, so if we can help out, we'll kick in too and help out where we can help out too. I mean, this is, right now, I think we've just all got to
It's fully
pitch in
up
and
to
do
you.
our part.
It's fully up to you. Again, if you
Right.
remember, there's 3 options here. One option is to just go back and use a management consulting firm, and you can do that too if you choose. So there's a lot of options here.
Did we have some, will you come, Brett, would you come up, please? Thank you.
That vote is probably sailed. It'd be worth giving Colin Basinger a call.
I've
Okay.
spoken at length with Colin, and I'll report on that, thank you. Okay, come on back, George. I did speak to, if it's okay for right now, George, I'll go ahead and share with everybody what I spoke to. I spoke to Colin, I explained to him the situation we were in. Colin, basically, his contract expired as of February 1st. That was the day that Michael actually started work here. And Colin is looking at what he can do. He is very backed up right now as far as work. Not sure, he said he probably would not, of course, charge us the initial fee that he charged us, is looking currently at whether he could allow us a reduced rate. At first, he talked about just expenses. And then he came back and I asked him if he's given me a workup for that, and he was unable to, said he's still working on it, but he said it would probably be at a reduced rate from what he originally charged, because he's also looking at his date as being April 10th, when Michael actually is given his resignation, even though we know that Michael can leave sooner than April 10th if we get an interim in. So that's something that we're going to have to look at as far as going with Colin. Now, he does have an associate that is working with him now, and said he would talk to his associate and see if he could help out. And that's where, of course, that reduced rate would come in.
May I?
Absolutely.
I'll go back to my original question. I guess I didn't really phrase it right. I understand that we need an interim manager, but can you guys bring in an interim manager? We have our interim manager, and then at the same time be looking for a manager with you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's where I was trying to go with
Oh, yeah.
my question.
Yeah.
And I really think we need to explore that.
And this
Yeah.
guy that he's talking about doesn't want to apply for a manager's job, so he would be here while we're doing the process.
Correct.
Well, I think due to our financial situation, because Colin, I just believe in my heart that he's going to charge.
He is going to charge something.
This
So
right
it's not
here,
like your price.
going this way gonna be the best way.
Yeah.
And that'll give us time to really think about it and to check, and so we can try to find a qualified person. I will listen to the, not Joy, but I can't think of the other guy's name. Jim, when he was saying, you try to get the qualified person that has experience in experience in this, experience in that, experience in that, experience.
We can check a lot of those boxes.
Right, and so try to find, give us time to try to find somebody like that is familiar. You might not know how to master it, but is familiar with certain aspects of what Crescent City needs. Yeah.
I do want to say too that, Crescent City has an awful lot going for it. It's a beautiful community. I think it's got tremendous potential. Having the two large lakes on each side of it, I mean, come on, if I was a young man, I wouldn't want to apply for this job myself. Sorry, I'm too old to do this anymore. But anyway, I think it's got a lot I think it's a gorgeous community.
Yeah. Joy, sounds like you've been reading the newspaper. You see all the real estate selling going on in Crescent City recently?
Yeah, I know. So now Colin did share with me, he did send me a gentleman, I talked to you about that as well, as someone who might be interested as an interim. I guess he came in and helped Newport Richie just recently.
Good.
Newport Richie was looking for, and they needed an interim, and so he came in and helped them.
So yeah, maybe you contact that person, contact the person on resume, and quickly have them come in and have an interview and with you and see where you go from there.
Okay.
So again, we're just here to help as your advisor if you want us to, as much as you need us or don't need us. It's certainly not going to hurt our feelings if we use Colin or somebody else or whatever, But if one thing I want to clarify, Jim, is that if you do have us, what you are going to need to pay is our mileage, any meals, and we have to if we set the interview process, we might not have to stay overnight during the interview process.
I'm just going to ask a basic question. This is something, Debbie, you can probably answer as well. If we go into this, because I have a breakdown of Michael, with benefits, everything. Would this interim, would they be contractual or would they be an employee? Would it come on as an
I think
employee
you
or
put
as
them
a
under a
contract?
contract.
A contract,
Nothing to be
okay.
contractual.
So it would be
the contract
contractual.
would lay out, what they're interim only, would lay out their pay, any benefits.
Okay,
Not that you just say they don't, make sure your contract says exclusively they don't get these benefits.
so you 1099 them basically.
And so, yeah, you
Okay.
want to have them as a contract employee.
Okay,
And then obviously, a new city manager would be the permanent employee, with some dollars benefits that the manager gets.
okay. So do we have any other questions from George? Yes, Commissioner DeVito?
I have a question. George, I noticed we have a chart here that lists the names of the senior advisors.
Yes.
And it says the different areas of expertise that you have.
Yes.
So, and the print's kind of small, so it's a little hard for me to see. But what is the purpose of saying the areas of expertise that you have? And the reason I'm asking is, we have a decision, as you just heard, about what to do about our finance director. So do you provide other areas of consultation, other types of consultation besides helping to find interim and new?
Well, we can, but remember, we're advisors, not consultants. So when we talk about your finance department, you've already got experts who have more expertise than any senior advisor out there, to say, in that area. So we're advisors, not
really care whether we're in a workshop or a special meeting, but when we talk about financial services, I think we need to hear a little bit more from Debbie Peacock as to what the alternatives are. I mean, we've got a couple of things to decide here. And I think we need to get some clarity on how long she's going to stay, don't we?
Debbie, do you want to speak to that? I mean, by all means. I mean, I've spoken to you, a little bit, but do you want to share with us your thoughts?
I personally think that we should get somebody in to go over the book, see where we're at. I had suggested one time me going part-time and at a certain rate of pay, and then we could hire somebody else to be training to help us out back there, because we're still gonna have to have a person here no matter what we do. Sheila and I just cannot get it all done. Another person, and that'll offset it. Me only working part-time will offset some. And I did a sheet for that. I didn't bring it in here, sorry. And what it's gonna cost, but for an employee plus insurance, and if Sheila's gonna take on more responsibility, we need to talk about her rate of pay and to cover all of that. And I'd be willing to, stay until we get that person trained to do part of the work back there. But I think we really should get somebody to come in and look and see where we're at first.
Okay.
Well, I have a question about that first thing that Debbie said. Sorry, I have my back to you. When you say get someone in to go over the book,
Yes,
are you talking about?
either this company or outside auditor to come in, or accounting to come in, and our auditors has suggested us getting an accounting firm to come in and go over our books with me and see where we stand. And one way or the other, we need to do that. We either need to get an outside auditor to come in and audit our books with me, or else hire someone to come in and see where we should go in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
And that's with any business. I mean, that's with any business, when you have to put money out, you pay for professionals. We do pay for professionals, but in the long run, they oftentimes save us a lot of money and can keep us out of some trouble. So it's just really kind of the cost of doing business. It's hard to digest sometimes.
Normally, a finance director doesn't do, what I understand, doesn't do all the stuff I do. I do a lot of the everyday accounting back there. And usually you have a clerk doing all of that, and the finance director can, do the budget, do reporting and stuff like that. But I've always had to do all of it, and it's getting harder and harder because we're doing more and more reporting. And now we have a new system too, so it's really put a burden on us like that, so.
Do you believe the clerk, if we were to bring a clerk in, do you believe that's a full-time, or do you think that could be a part-time?
It could be part-time to start with, and we have to see where it went from that. If we can get it part-time.
Possibly somebody that maybe could even help out with Deb's position at the same time, maybe even if we did more of a full-time and they shared, because they definitely need an additional clerk up front too.
Yeah.
So it's somebody that possibly could share your duties and Deb's, and some of those Deb's that they can take off of Deb as well. Okay.
Mayor, I have a question based on what Debbie's information for Mr. Laughlin.
Uh-huh.
Is he still here, right? No? Where's Mr. Laughlin? There he is.
There he is.
Okay.
He's right there.
Sorry, the light's shining in my face from the door.
No, worries.
So Ms. Peacock said you need someone in to go over the books, either an accounting firm, right?
Yes.
Or your firm with what is in your proposal, does that cover what Debbie is saying that we need?
Yes, I think that's just semantics, basically. The assessment covers the we say going over the books, is really peeling back the layers, and as I described, evaluating that, think of that as a triangle, process, system, structure, to see what the future could look like if we implement X, Y, and Z. And Debbie nailed it perfectly. The typical role of the finance director is that higher level management type functions, overseeing the budget, the year-end audit, strategic analysis, reporting, giving you all relevant information to help you make informed decisions. And then an individual or two at the clerk level, depending on the size of the city, one individual, a half individual, 3 individuals, whatever it may be, handles a lot of those day-to-day transactions. And that's not what is happening here. And a lot of it's due to inherent efficiency, just by the fact that we're dealing with 2 systems and other issues that I raised. But that's where we want to get you all to. That's what the role of the finance director should look like here, and it could look like, and that's what we want to get the city to. And so that's kind of the peeling back the layers, looking at the books. That's kind of what all that entails.
Okay, and I think Debbie mentioned at some point, either today or earlier, that there are some accounts that need to be balanced.
Yes, and I had discussed that with them. There's some old accounts in there that's never been balanced out, and they need to.
Okay, so is that something that could be included?
Absolutely, 100%. There's all due from other funds. I've worked with Debbie, propose an entry to eliminate those old stale items that we're not sure of the origin, and help clean things up going forward. All part of what we do in a month.
Okay, so that would definitely include. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
One more question for Deb. You've worked with Alex, what'd you think? Have you worked with him? Did he come in and
He
work?
just came in for a few minutes before the meeting, and I talked to him
Okay,
and went over, I gave him a list of what I do. And we discussed a little bit about, and,
okay. Because he just made it sound like you guys kind of hit it off a little bit.
yeah.
Okay,
I'm excited to be able to first have the opportunity to work with Debbie.
I want to make sure Debbie hit it off with him. is all.
Yes.
That everything was okay.
I still go back to, and Commissioner Burton raised this as far as the $150 per day during this first 30-day period. I would like more of a fixed cost. I really think that I don't like anything that's, we can't take any surprises right now.
Yeah, I'd like a fixed cost.
And I would really like to see that if you could, this is kind of, I think, honestly, this is the elephant in the room right now, is, and how can we make this attractive for you and make it attractive for us as well. And so if there's something, if you would consider that as far as that $150 per day.
I mean, I could eat some of that, and we could entertain just for this monthly period, here's the X dollar amount of travel costs not to exceed. And anything that, will exceed it, and I can just eat that cost. I want to work with you all.
If you did 30 days of $150 a day, just for an example, it's $4,500. It's a ton of money, really. And
How many days a week do you expect that you would be here during this first 30 days?
Well, we talked about, one overnight trip per week, so it'd be 2 days
2 days. Okay, so it would be 150, so $300
per week.
per
So-
week.
Right, so for, 4.5 weeks.
Okay, so you're 1,200, so you've added 1,200 onto that at least, if not 1,500. Okay.
Mayor, if I could, I thought at one point I heard you say you might need more than one person on site for a particular week. So it could potentially be 2 people.
yeah, because it says per consultant.
Per consultant.
Right, I mean, there's lodging costs that we would incur. And again, I can work with you all. If you want to come, we can come to a number that's comfortable to you all. If I absorb all of it, then I might actually be paying for my consultants more than I'm getting in revenue to the city. So I don't want to put myself in that position. Again, my goal is to come into this 30-day period and make you all in a better place, getting you voting out for the future. So,
This would be more the courting phase of our relationship.
yes.
because-
If I can buy you flowers, I'll pick up.
I mean, I'm just saying that this is the courting portion of our relationship, and it might be that we fall in love with you and say, well, hey, maybe this is a
Put a
great,
ring on it.
this is a great fit. So that's why it's, and it's also gonna be a partnership that we're gonna be working with you on. So, okay. Do we have any more questions right now before we adjourn this workshop? Everybody good? Okay, I'm gonna adjourn the workshop. And we're at 3 o'clock, we're going to open up our special meeting. So the meeting is started. Notice I didn't give anybody a 5-minute break.
That's fine, let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
Just keep going.
Let's get it done.
Let's get it done.
Let's get it done.
Get her done.
Let's get it done. Okay, so as we start this the special meeting, the first thing on the agenda is going to be the finance services approval.
If I could ask us to reverse the order and bump city manager issues up to the top.
If everyone is in agreement with that,
I'm sorry, what was that
she
again?
wants to reverse the order and put number 3 and head at number 2.
I think that's good.
Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Commissioner
Is
Webb,
that good with Andrew?
is that good with Andrew? We put you off for just a little while? It won't be long.
Sure, yeah, as soon as you get to me, I'll stick around.
Okay, we can get George back on the road. Okay, so let's go to our city manager position selection.
So I would make a motion that we request the senior advisors through the City County Manager Association to immediately assist us in locating an interim city manager.
I'll second. Oh, go.
Okay, who wants to second this? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Bunch of,
Commissioner Banks?
yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion? No discussion. Okay.
Well, I guess do we need to have discussion as to who we are going to tell them to send the resumes to, whose attention?
Well, you can do that. You can add that to your motion if you would.
Well, I mean, I don't
Do
know.
that motion,
We
but
never
We can do
said.
that after
We can
we
do
vote.
that afterwards. But right now,
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Commissioner DeVito, would you speak a little bit louder? It's becoming difficult to hear you. Thank you.
Basically, I'm saying this is part of discussion. I made the motion that we have the senior advisors assist us immediately in locating an interim city manager. And as part of the discussion, I said, do we need to talk about, they've asked us to indicate who the resumes should be directed to. So do we just want to vote on the motion and deal with that later?
we can.
Because that's fine with me. We just got to deal with it.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to deal with the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a motion right now and a second to ask that the Florida League of City Managers, George and Jim, assist us with the interim selection, finding us an interim manager. So is everyone in agreement? All ayes?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, the motion passes. We have that. Now, we need to make a decision as to, I guess, we want him to send these to.
Well, I think it should come to the city manager. He's gonna be here the 8th or the 10th.
What?
I hope that we have him here.
He'll be here until the interim is in place and comfortable.
Yeah,
So he's just given us until April the 10th.
right, so we
Okay.
get,
So if Commissioner Banks is making a motion to that effect, I'll be happy to second.
Do you want to make a motion to that effect, Commissioner Banks?
I make a motion that we have the application, I think, application to come to our city manager.
And I'll second.
Okay, do we have a second? Michael, do you have
No, I just want to add, I have an email that can just go, they can go right to.
it can go
A
right?
separate email that can go to,
Okay,
just for those.
okay. So we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No? Okay, the ayes have it, motion passes.
And there's one more motion. And that's to have the senior advisors also look for not an interim, but a city manager. for
You
Crescent
can't do
City.
that till you give them a list of what to look for.
Well, we have to make a determination. What we have to do at this point in time, after we've taken care of this, is we've got to determine, we have three choices. We either do it on our own, we go with a firm, or we ask for the assistance of George and Jim in helping us. So we've got to make that determination and then give some direction from that. And then he will, of course, give us the survey, we'll fill out the survey, and he'll start the process on our behalf.
Right. So I think the motion would be, what direction do we want to go in for assistance in finding a permanent city manager?
I will share with you that just based on my conversation with Colin, number one is he is backed up right now, and he couldn't even give me a time frame when he could get started as far as helping us.
That's what I
And number
understood.
two, I know that no matter what, he is going to charge us, if not the full amount. I know he wouldn't charge us the full amount, but it's probably going to be significant. And we've already, in the last year and a half, we already paid him, what, 27,000? Was it 27,000, Debbie? Something like that, a significant amount of money. So,
Well, the interesting part, anyone's free to make a motion. Colin is on record somewhere, I don't know how long we keep our meeting taped, but he's certainly said, I think y'all remember, that he would assist us and he would not be hard and fast about the time frame. So I certainly find this very disappointing, but I will have to say that there were aspects of his search process that I think did not help us out. There were some ways that he did things that didn't help us in the long run. So, if there's any assistance that he wants to put in to help us, that's fine. But at this point, I think if nobody else wants to move it, I would move that we ask the senior advisors to also assist us with the permanent city manager search.
That's what I wanted to
do we have a second? We have a motion. We have a second by Commissioner West. Do we have any more discussion?
I just have a brief observation, and we can talk about this later. I think we do have some staff challenges. We talked about this before when we went with Colin. And I think we need some clarification and maybe even some advice from the senior advisors. I'm not really completely understanding how the city manager, or not the city manager, the city commissioners would help with this process in terms of, taking the place of staff.
Sometimes it's just copying. Sometimes it's just coming in and helping and copying and distributing. That's, it's just.
Well, I think we need to get some clarification on that, and I certainly think we need to have the staff we need. But anyway, that's my motion, and Judy seconded it, so there you go.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, the ayes have it. We have a motion. Go forward. And
you got a
George,
job.
thank you so much, you and Jim both. I greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time today to come over.
Michael, would you send me that email that you want these codes? And then I'll leave this one with Michael to distribute to the,
Okay.
this is the one applicant we have for the interim job. Leave that with Michael, I can distribute it to all of you, and you can go from there.
And
If you need me, the first thing I'm gonna ask you to do is very quickly, I'll get early next week, get Michael a copy of the survey with the date. I'd like, hopefully you'll complete it by,
Okay.
which would be very quick, and we
Okay.
can, from that, we can start moving, we'll move as quickly as we can on from there.
that's great. Thank you
very
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I also want to make sure that, I don't want us to, Colin's in the business of job he's a headhunter. And so this is what he does. He makes money at it. So, I understand where he is at this point in time. It is unfortunate, and like I said, he never said no, but he did say it is going to it's going to cost us. So I just,
I think this is much
I just
better.
feel like this is a better direction for us at this point in time. And I like the fact that George and Jim both, have that, it's not just a person, they have that relationship with these city
Yes,
managers,
right.
so.
Well, I do want to make one observation, because I remember this very well from last time. George, I put George or Jim, one of them said that it's very important to have the right emphasis in your advertisement for the job description, that you have the right qualifications, and that is somewhat different from what they told us last time. Last time, they just said, well, there's just a basic city manager job description. I think what they just said now is much more accurate,
Right,
and I really,
I think Jim said that, you're right.
but
right.
last time, they just said, hey, it's the city manager, just, figure out the salary, blah, blah. So, I thought this was much more on the money and much more.
And we
what
had
we need.
we had a pretty in-depth conversation as far as what our needs were here too, that we had some very specific needs.
I'm saying, I think we really need to attend to what they said about being very careful that we get a job description that fits what we need at this particular time.
Okay.
I thought that was a great thing they said.
Yeah, he emphasized that a couple of times.
Okay,
I think we need to, and I would like to add this too, because what we really need to do, well, maybe we can do it at a later date, come back and, after we go to get the information about, we need to make sure that we be on this side of the sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we do that. We don't want to do nothing that the public is not aware of. Yeah,
I second that
okay.
aspiration.
and I called today just for that, I called and I'm gonna talk to, probably talk to Michael a little bit about it, but as far as in the sunshine, making sure that, and I think we're moving in that direction with us doing a workshop, rather than have the individual meetings. I mean, that's just the way it's been done in the past, and just because that's the way it's been done doesn't always mean that's the right way to do it. And we can all, better ourselves if we can. So,
Did we vote to have a workshop next month? I don't remember voting on that.
we did not vote to have a workshop next month. We did not, because we were, did you need to say something?
Are you all winding down?
Yes,
I had to take a phone call.
that's fine.
Several things that I wanted to, give to the commission.
Jay, can I stop you for just a second?
Absolutely.
Can we finish up here and then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we haven't, I'm sorry. No, sir. No, I'll stop you for just a second. Okay, so are we ready to move on to item number
I'm sure
2?
he'd like to go home.
Yeah.
I know he would like to go home. Okay, so before us is we have a financial services contract. It's a 30-day contract. We have gone through this with Andrew, and of course, I think the sticking point right now for us is the $150 per person fee. And we've got to determine how much we're willing to incur in addition to the $6,500.
Well, we don't really have a motion to accept this contract.
Well, I don't think we
Yeah,
can
we're
accept
still
the
discussing it,
contract. Yeah, we're
basically.
still discussing it. We can't accept the contract, I don't think, because right now it has that $150 sticking point in there that some of us have some concerns about.
Okay, well, my personal opinion is, and this is my opinion, I think we need to pay people what they're worth and not, I don't like to think that we are, either stringing someone along or that we are beholden to them and will feel that we owe them a long-term contract. I don't think the per diem cost is unreasonable. I think it's more reasonable to put a hard cap on it. I mean, if you looked at 2 days a week for 2 people for 4 weeks, I think my math's not great, but that might come out to 2,400. Do I have that right?
Sounds right, sorry, I haven't done the math.
So,
Yes.
I mean, to me, this is a 1-month contract, and I think if we're gonna do it, we should just pay them what they're worth and let them provide us the staff that they need. And in the long run, if we really want their expertise, I do not think $2,400 is going to make a lot of difference. And I think we should give ourselves the best chance possible. To me, the issue is, ideally, you would do an RFP for these services, but we are a little bit behind. So that's the sticking point for me is that we have one proposal before us. To me, I don't really think it makes much difference whether it's 6,500 or plus somewhere between 1,200 and 2,400 for the travel. Because they have good references, we need the services, and we're behind.
I think what I said earlier, though, and it plays into what you just repeated, is that I would like to see more of a fixed cost. I don't want a moving cost. I think if we just had a fixed cost, so if we agreed to, this is how much we're willing to pay for travel, that,
I think he indicated that 150 was max.
Right.
That if the hotel's 40 a night and they
Right.
spend 40 for meals, it would be $80.
right, he did, per person.
But, well, the 150 is the lesser up, correct?
Correct. Lesser of actual or the 150 per person.
Okay, so 150 would be the maximum per day.
Okay.
And like I said, if they actually had 2 people here 2 days a week for 4 weeks, that would come out to 2,400. So we could say, do what you need to do, but we are not paying more than 2,400.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that.
So we would cap it at $2,400, which is basically what I've been asking, is that we need a cap.
Yeah.
I want a cap. I don't want a moving target that all of a sudden, that we've got a $10,000 bill that we thought we were only gonna have to pay $8,000 for. So if we did if we cap that at $2,400, that would be 2 people twice a week. And then you would, of course, incur the cost if you had to bring them in addition.
Correct.
Is that correct?
I want to move forward so that if you're comfortable with that, I'm good with it.
Okay.
That brings the total to 8,900 for that 30 days.
Yep.
Does that sound reasonable?
We don't have really, I don't have anything to compare it to, quite honestly.
And I've looked around to see, there's a lot of cities looking for financial directors right now. And I've actually looked at some of the salaries that they're looking for. And really, I kind of agree with Andrew. He's not too far off the mark when it comes to the salary than what we're paying Debbie right now. Yeah, it's a little bit more. Okay, I will agree with that, but he incurs all of his benefits and stuff like that. That's the long-term contract. But for the 30 days, I think it's very important that we figure out where we are so that we can move forward.
I agree with that. We need to look at where we are before we do.
Yes.
We definitely need. Do you want a
Okay,
motion?
do we have a motion?
I so move that we employ Andrew Laughlin for a 1-month contract of $6,500 a month and $2,400 cap for the people that will be here 2 times a week.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I have a question, and this is partly a question for Jay. The insurance provision portion of this contract on page 3.
That's what I mentioned earlier.
Contract.
The one that we have the motion on, the consultant agreement with Clarion LLC that we just made the motion on.
Insurance provisions.
While he's finding that, Diane, did you have a comment that you
I
wanted
did
to?
have a question. We are consulting with Andrew and his firm, which he said were consultants. They are going to be looking at our financials and seeing, have access to our accounts. Do we have a background check on that?
That's a good point.
Yep.
I know you're bonded.
You're
You're bonded.
Sure, you didn't say you were bonded.
We carry commercial liability insurance, which is general liability, professional liability, crime, theft. So, if there was any sort of malfeasance, you could file a claim on our insurance.
But, well, I don't, Mayor, if I could, Diane.
I don't know how insurance differs from bonding. How does that differ, Jenny?
They're very similar, but the bonding company, bonds in
The guarantees, the bond guarantees it.
Yeah.
Well, hold on just a second, because I want to, Diane raised a good question about the background check, and this is something for Jay also. I don't know if Diane has it in front of her, but Mr. Laughlin has provided us with a list of his current clients. They are Florida public entities. There's quite a list of them, and he also has 2 recommendations. There have not been any problems. So to me, I think the background check, given that, I don't know, I would be comfortable waiving the background check, given that you're CPA, correct?
Right.
But we have their resume and we have a list of their clients as well as 2 recommendations, right? Michael from, I think, starts in the Bureau of Bees.
Big City came in, well, right.
Right, saying that there have been no problems. My question about, and that, I don't know how other commissioners feel about that. But I just wanted Diane to know that we do have references for them. Jay, there's a provision on page 3, a paragraph about insurance provisions that says they will be required to maintain insurance coverage. It's down at the bottom of page 3. Okay, I wasn't sure. So, should we require some kind of proof of that before they actually start the work? How would we do that?
That's fairly normal. He could have his carrier furnish us proof of insurance.
He has to do that when he fills out his W-9 to be put into the system as a vendor. He's supposed to show his proof of insurance at that time. And he can name us
I was
as the,
named insured.
yes.
That's all, yeah, COI, having to do that certificate of insurance. So you contact my carrier and have that immediately.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that's not just nice words in the contract, that we make sure we are following.
If he
through,
adds
that
us
that
as a
really
named
gets done.
insured, that just gives us an excellent level of protection.
Exactly. Okay. All right.
Okay.
That was my only question.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Andrew. Woo-hoo! I know,
Thanks for
sticking it out, you know? Thank you. You're starting tomorrow, correct?
Debbie, let's get back there. Come on.
Yeah,
Let's go.
You can start this afternoon. She still has another hour and a half. So.
Like he started in the system, and so we can pay you.
Sure will. And yeah, and I'll be in touch with, next week.
Okay, thank you.
so much.
Jay.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm so sorry, Jay.
You're not?
Okay.
I'm not real excited about this, but what I'm doing is I'm giving the city notice of my retirement. We have we have it's not bad.
You got everybody.
I swear it's not
Well,
me. I'm not driving.
The how I, as you all probably know, those who know me, I've been trying to slow down, and this police business has just it's been all consuming. 24 hours a day. And I just realized for a lot of reasons, for myself, for people around me that have to put up with me, that it needs to be, we need to bring some people into the picture that are younger, that likes pressure, that likes to get up tomorrow morning and go fight with people. I'm sort of over that. I used to be pretty good in the courtroom and loved it. In fact, I was reverse of most people. I got depressed on Fridays because the weekend was going to take me out squabbling for all the way till Monday. And then Sunday evening, I'd start feeling better. But courtroom days and fighting with people is not really what I want to do anymore. And this, I know this police business has weighed on all of y'all. It's weighed on all of us. I'm not running off. I'll be here with whoever. My recommendation to the council is, and they can do what they want, is to allow the firm I'm associated with just to fill in for the balance of my what would be my contractual period. You've got between George Young and young Bobby Pickens and the other people associated with that firm, you've got over 75 years of municipal law involved in that whole bunch. And you know, I really have enjoyed it. But I'm telling you what, I'm not kidding you. When I'm going in and out of here, I'm not taking a cigarette break. I'm taking phone calls from attorneys. And I don't mind talking to attorneys, but sometimes I'd like to talk to preachers. Now here's something. I had made up my mind when the going got tough that I was going to stick it out with y'all until we got through the issue, the big issue that y'all, all of us have been facing. Last night, Ms. Sykes brought up a point that I was paying attention to what she was saying. She brought up a point that in our legal advertisement, where we advertise our ordinances, that we had not put in the place that the public could examine the ordinance that we were considering. And I want to give you a little background to tell you why I think we should have a redo. And I know that's not what anybody wants to hear. It's not what I wanted to find. And it's being extra cautious. I do 2 attorneys that do that stuff, fight about it in court every day. They've advised me it's a technical violation, probably would win any challenge. But the way I feel about it is something this important, it needs to be done right. So, although it's hard to go through meetings where people call you bad names, it's hard for me. Last night, I don't get my feelings hurt very bad, but when I made a statement that I didn't have an agenda in this whole thing, which you guys that know me know I don't really have an agenda. That's a decision for the public, whether we have a police department or not. The public being represented by you guys. But on an issue this important, we just have to do it right. And what that means is we re-advertise for the final hearing and set your final hearing time and redo it. That's my advice. Even though the experts say you could probably win any challenge, but why take a chance? My advice is that we all suck it up and do it right. And I got the legal ad this morning from Deb training, and it's not there. And
We had it posted on the website, but we didn't have it. We didn't make it aware in our advertisement where people could find it. Is that correct?
that's right. It's a very technical point that Ms. Sykes raises, but well taken. And actually, I thank her for the observation.
We do listen to you, Diane.
You don't think so, but we do. We do listen to you. So thank you.
That's the solution. It's, I'd love to be telling you all some glad tidings with great joy.
Well,
It's not.
schedule another into the advertisement done.
We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
Do we have 10 days for our next meeting? Is there a 10-day?
I don't know that they can get it. Michael, I don't think you can get it advertised, can you? By the 11th.
A lot of people are leaving now. People are starting to, I know Commissioner DeVito's not gonna be here.
You need 10 days prior
Yeah.
to the whatever.
So today's the 25th,
Okay, when is our regular meeting?
the 11th.
The 11th. If you could get it in tomorrow, it could be days.
What is Monday?
The 1st.
Right, they don't publish.
They don't publish on Monday,
That's right.
Okay, you won't get 10 days.
but if they get it in by
Can you get it in tomorrow?
Saturday,
We'll probably try to get it in Saturday. I could see if we can get it in tomorrow, probably be Saturday.
we can, so even
Okay.
if it goes in on Saturday, that still gives us our 10
We're in
days.
good shape. If it gets in on Saturday, we're in good shape.
Okay. And this is unfortunate,
Let's see if we can do it. We gotta do it.
but,
Oh, once again, with the mercy of the paper, we'll put it in today to see if we can get in as soon as possible.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can't they give you, a confirmation that if they can get it?
They can, but once again, we gotta set it in, and what time is it now? It's
3:30.
3:30.
You can probably call Wayne and just explain to him. Maybe he can help us with that.
The ad department leaves at 4.
Okay.
Might want to do that.
Why don't you go do that right now, Michael?
Yes.
Jay,
One thing too, this is what I mean, this is all that's been on my mind for months. But on the way home last night, and I don't do health insurance. I don't know much about COBRA, but I was thinking, in fairness to these officers, you maybe should talk about that kind of thing with the severance. Be sure, I don't want to leave anybody hanging,
right,
and really, giving somebody 48 hours to figure out that is not,
and
I
Debbie
want to be,
and
I
I,
want
So
to
we'd
be
be
fair.
it would be unethical to do that. That'd be fair.
and Debbie and I talked about that too this morning as far as the health insurance. And
Good.
so this would take care of them this would cover them for the next month. Is that correct, Debbie, if we extend this out, since we're going to extend it out? Would that take care of them for the next month?
So their termination date won't be till the 11th?
Well,
We don't know, but basically,
If possible.
potentially the 11th.
hold on. Do we need a motion? I mean, we're
We're going to have to do a motion to re-advertise. We are going to have
Well,
to.
not just to re-advertise, but do we have to rescind the vote?
No,
No?
no, that's not a requirement.
The way I'm looking at it is, a possible defective, error in the adoption of the ordinance, and,
So you're not signing it, correct?
that's correct.
It has not been signed. We have
Okay.
not, neither one of us have signed it at this point.
Right, so would it be in order to make a motion that due to a possible defect in, what was the ordinance that we passed last night? Does there remember?
It was 2021-01.
Yes, 2021-01.
2021-01, that due to a potential defect in the advertising, that 2021 will not be effective.
Well, it's
Ordinance would not be.
that ordinance, so we
Right.
still have that ordinance before us. We have to go to a
Right.
final reading, so we can't make it ineffective. I don't think we can make that ordinance as being not effective. Is that correct, Jay?
Well,
Because it's
it's not
still
going-
before us.
It's not going to have an effective date. I mean, it was
You would
not
be doing a
adopted.
No, it won't. That ordinance, the way I see it, is not in effect.
Okay, well, so the ordinance, we're saying 2021-01, as voted on last night, February 24th, will not be effective, and that we will re-advertise for second reading to take place on the regular meeting of March 11th. Would that be correct?
I'm still uncomfortable with making it not
You
effective.
can leave out all that first stuff. I just say you're gonna advertise for a final hearing on the ordinance 2021.
That's properly advertised. And that's, I think that if we do that, take a final reading that's properly advertised.
Correct.
Well,
Yes, Brett?
Would that be for a first or second reading?
Second.
for a second reading.
Okay.
Only have to advertise one time,
Well, I mean,
either meeting.
the way the ordinance reads, the last paragraph says effective date, and it says effective when adopted. So I guess, I'm trying to say this the right way. Because of the defect in advertisement, 2021-01 is deemed to not have been effectively adopted on February 24th, and we will re-advertise for second reading for the regular meeting, March 11th.
Jay, is that language getting us? Are we putting too much into
What
this?
are we doing, writing newspaper articles?
No,
I
I
mean,
mean, we voted on something last
So
night. I
let's
think
bottom line it, okay? I mean, let's not get too detailed about it. Basically, we made a technical error when we,
in advertising, it
In
was just an advertising, it was an
we have
advertising
not
error.
signed it, correct?
It has
So
not
by
been signed.
signing it is not in effect,
Correct.
and it will be in effect after we take another vote on the 11th? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, that's the bottom line.
Very simple.
Okay,
That's
but
it.
what I'm saying is that we should be voting to re-advertise it for second reading.
I don't know if we need to really re-vote for that, do we?
I think so. We voted on everything else.
Well, if we have a motion, I think it's just a simple motion. Lisa, can you make it a simple motion if you want to file, if you want to do a
Don't play
motion
it.
that based on advertising, whatever, we are going to re-advertise.
So based on a technical defect in the advertising for second reading for ordinance 2021-01, we will re-advertise second reading to occur at the regular meeting March 11th.
Okay.
2021.
If we can get it in.
We should be able to get it in. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I said,
Second.
I have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And with that, Jay, I just want to say before we close this meeting out, through the years, you're my neighbor, through the years, we really haven't gotten to know each other, disagreed on some things a couple of times, but I'm going to tear up here. You have been so good to me since I've become mayor, and I am forever thankful. And this is a man that I have come to truly respect. I admire him, and I'm blessed to be able to call you my friend. And we just thank you for all the service that you've given to the city of Crescent City for these last 30 years. Whether people have agreed with you or not, we know you've always tried to lead them and do the right thing. And for this, I thank you, and I just thank you for for all that you've done for me. So